Hello everyone and welcome back to my Battlefield 3 Loadout video series. This week we're going to take a look at another competitive class or useful class to help you get good scores in games, and the title of this one is Field Medic, which in my opinion is the best assault kit setup. This setup that I'll be presenting today is my go-to setup for Battlefield 3, and it's made up of all the best weapons and equipment, or in my opinion the best weapons and equipment that allow you to get the best scores in any game mode. So let's get started and take a look at the weapons and accessories we're going to use as part of this Field Medic or Assault Kit setup. Post-patch, the M16 is now arguably the best weapon in the Assault Kit. Beforehand the FAMAS had the #1 spot, but since the patch the FAMAS has been drastically nerfed and it's no longer quite as good. Other competitive weapons include the G3, but that has a main disadvantage of only having a 20 round magazine size. We've got the L85A2, which is a very good weapon, but the slow rate of fire at 650 rounds per minute does mean that the time to kill is pretty slow. And we've got the KH2002, which is another one of my favourites, but being a burst weapon means that you're at a slight disadvantage in comparison to fully autos when in those close range engagements. So the M16 gets my vote, and it's a definite top choice for a lot of pro Battlefield players. Its stats all around are pretty good. It's got a fast rate of fire at 800 rounds per minute. It's got the usual 30 round magazine size as well as a very fast reload time at 1.8 seconds. And to top off its stats, the M16 has good recoil figures, which means the recoil overall is pretty low. So the best setup in my opinion in terms of accessories are, first up for your optic is the Cobra red dot sight. Despite being a US weapon, we're going to use the Russian red dot sight over the American red dot sight because the Cobra has the advantage of being much slimmer, so it takes up less space on screen, allowing for more peripheral vision, and it's also got a very slightly larger screen to aim through. I also find that German style reticle with the 3 lines fits perfectly with the front pin of the M16 as opposed to the dot of the reflex red dot sight, which can kind of get lost in firefights when it's disguised by muzzle flash. We're going to leave accessory slot 2 blank because the M16 doesn't have very much side-to-side recoil, so the foregrip isn't really needed. If we attached it, it'd only make us less accurate at long range. Then for the third accessory we'll go with the heavy barrel. Since the patch I've been testing out the heavy barrel versus the flash suppressor, and I definitely find the heavy barrel the better choice, especially on the M16. Since the M16's got a pretty low recoil anyway, you don't really need the flash suppressor in order to reduce the recoil any further. And the main advantage of the heavy barrel is it's going to increase your accuracy at long range, which is going to allow you to drop people much faster. Then for the sidearm, seeing as this is a competitive class, we're going to want to choose one of the automatic pistols. So that leaves us with the choice of just the G18 or the 93R. And out of the two, the 93R has the higher damage figures, as well as having a slightly lower recoil profile. The 93R is only 3 round burst as opposed to the G18's fully automatic, but for a sidearm I think this works pretty well. Often you only really need your sidearm to finish off a bad guy if you've run out of bullets in your M16's magazine, so a 3 round burst works pretty well. So moving on to the Gadget Specialization and Camo for our Field Medic class. Because we're using the Assault Kit and because we've named this class Field Medic, it makes sense to use the Medic Kit as the #1 gadget, not to mention that it's the only choice we've got available. Second up, we could have gone for the underslung rail and attached either the launcher or shotgun, but I think we've got enough firepower with the M16 and the 93R, so my preference would go with the defibrillator just to help support your teammates and rack up those points. After playing around with all the kits in Battlefield 3, I definitely think the Assault Kit is the most worthwhile. Obviously it all depends on the situation and what your squad mates are running, but playing as a Field Medic you're never left with no job to do, as you can always drop down medic kits for yourself and your teammates, and there's always going to be teammates dropping dead around you, so you can use those defibrillators to revive and maintain the push against the bad guys, as well as saving those tickets so you don't end up losing the game. For the specialization, since the patch, the cover specialization has got to be the #1 choice. Again, this all depends on what your squad mates are running, but since the suppression effect has been drastically increased, cover is definitely worthwhile running. While you're suppressed with that blurry screen, you'll find that your shots won't go anywhere near your targets, so cover will just reduce the time it takes for you to recover from this suppression, which is overall going to help you stay alive and stay in the action. Then finally, for the camouflage option for our Field Medic kit, remember this is a kind of a competitive setup rather than one that replicates a real life force. So the only camouflage option we've got that actually makes a difference to your character's performance is Spec Ops Camo. All the other patterns just change the appearance of your character, but Spec Ops Black actually reduces the effects of infrared scopes. You don't tend to see infrared scopes used too much in games nowadays, but it's definitely worth equipping, just seeing as it's the only one that actually does something. So that's it for my field medic setup. Like I mentioned, this is my go-to setup when I'm trying to perform in game. So give it a try in game and let me know your thoughts on it, and let me know down in the comments what your preferred setup is, whether you're also an assault guy or whether you prefer to run engineer, support or recon. If you enjoyed my little video, please drop me a thumbs up just to help share it with your friends and give my videos overall more widespread exposure. If this is the first video of mine you've seen, don't forget to subscribe, stick around for plenty more of these Battlefield 3 loadouts. So thanks so much for watching everyone, I'll catch you all later.